Hello everyone, greetings from PayTap's technical support team. In this series, you will learn how to integrate with PayTaps through our PT2 API endpoints. And we will walk you through the fourth integration type, which is the own form. For the purpose of this series, we have created a very simple Laravel project to walk you through the integration process. But feel free to follow the steps in this series with your own project, whatever the programming language or the frameworks used to integrate with PayTaps. So, let's get started. In this video, we are going to learn more about the initial setup settings, the prerequisite, and all the system requirements that you need to have before starting the actual integration with our own form integration type. So, let's get started. Before we start, please note that you can find the full documentation for this part inside PayTap's support portal under the article called the Own Form APIs Integration Manual. Now, normally in any of our integration manuals, step 1 is dedicated to set up and activate this integration manual. But since we are integrating through our own form APIs, so there's no actually any setup or activation or actually configuration that needs to be done. But in this step, we are just going to learn if there are any system requirements or prerequisites that you should have before starting the actual integration. So, if we navigated to step 1 over here, we've found some parts related to PCI requirements, system requirement, setup and activation, supported payment methods. So let's go through them one by one. The most important thing before starting integrating with our own form integration type is what is mentioned here in part 1, which is the PCI requirements. Now, PCI requirements is a set of information security standards relating to card processing. And if you want to learn more about it, we have a solution article dedicated to it, so we highly recommend you to check our solution article, what is PCI DSS and what are the merchant requirements. So, since the own form APIs, you are going to handle your own payment, you are going to handle the card details, the merchant card details, you'll be creating the card entry form and handling all of these sensitive data. So you will need to have a PCI requirement or a PCI level of SAC-D. If you want to learn more about this or want to know how you can get certified, you can check again our solution article, what is PCI DSS and what is the merchant requirement. And to activate your PCI requirement or your PCI level, you should, or we highly recommend you to contact our customer care at PayTap's team, or you can contact your account manager. So this is related to PCI requirement. If you are not PCI certified, we still highly recommend you to use our hosted payment page. It's an embedded page, but we have ways that you can customize it and you can, redirect it or even embed it inside your own website. It has a lot of options. You can check our hosted payment page integration manual. But for now, if you are willing to integrate through our own form API, so you must have PCI level of SAC-D. So now that we have learned about the PCI requirement, the next thing we should learn about is the system requirement. And actually, since we are integrating with our APIs, there is no much of system requirements needed. All what you need to have is your PayTaps account ready and you will be ready to integrate directly with our APIs. Now, the next thing after the system requirement is normally the setup and the activation level, but here again there is no setup or activation needed. All what you need to have is any programming language or any framework or any way of handling HTTP requests, as all the requests would be JSON HTTP using your any HTTP client agent will be able to do that. You can check our Postman from here, all the collections, and once you are ready to do that, you will be ready to start the integration. Finally, the supported payment methods in our own form APIs integration manuals are only the card payment methods. So we have the credit card, the American Express, the MATA for KSA, and Union Pay. And now, we have learned what is the prerequisite or the system requirements that you should have in step one. And actually, for step two, which is the configuring or configure the integration method, there is no also much of configuration to be done. All what you need to have is your main identification keys like your merchant ID, your profile ID, your API keys, and you can get all of that through your merchant dashboard. And we have solution article dedicated in this article to all of that. So if you want to know your region or your endpoint URL, you can check our solution article, what is my region endpoint URL. If you want to learn how you can get your API or your authentication keys, you can check our solution article, how to get my authentication integration APIs keys. And finally, if you want to learn how to get your profile ID and all of these details, you can check our solution article, how to get your account information from PT2 dashboard. All of these details will be easily managed or easily configured inside your programming language or inside the framework you are using to integrate with our APIs. So now that we have learned how is or what is the system requirement, and we have learned what is step one and step two, we can move forward and learn more about the payment workflow in the next video. So let's move forward.